Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 33 of the Titanforge podcast. My name is Dratnos. Joining me is Tettles, as always.
Hello, Dratnos. I hope you're doing well today.
I am. I hope that you are as well, equally well rested and ready to fight the day here.
Been sunbathing in tropical adventures, and I'm had a great vacation. Honestly,
is it sunbathing if you did it all night?
Moonbathing?
Moonbathing in islands?
That's why they call him the Moonkin. Trell, how about you? How you been doing?
I slept last night. I did not go do islands for 8 hours. I'm doing great.
Wise. And then joining us this week we're going to talk about the heroic raid is special guest and friend of the show, Squishei.
Hello.
Hello.
We're really calling him friend of the show. He's like acquaintance of the show.
Yeah, our the Titanforge Wowhead correspondent slash double agent, Squishei.
Slash trivia master slash
yeah. slash Alex Trebek. Yeah.
Keeper of TTV Tettles, yeah.
Keeper of TTV Tettles. Yes.
I also slept well last night, unlike somebody else, so
I don't know what you guys are talking about. I felt like it was a great decision to, instead of sleeping, just grind 80 islands all night, and now about to literally just pass out as soon as the show.
All right, we'll keep the show nice and long for you, just to prolong the misery.
I'm feeling great, thanks,
yeah. How's the neck doing? 75, 76?
It's like 74.8 or something like that.
Okay.
It's pretty thick though.
Pretty thick neck, yeah.
Not bad.
Far ahead of any of mine. Because
I have 2 characters at 73, but I'm not going too hard. I'm just clearing world quests.
Yeah, I'm not even doing that. I'm just doing alt stuff every day. Like before a higher priority for me than my world quest swoop is just doing the intro quest on more alts. So I haven't been doing swoops at all or islands at all this week. It's been a joy because you don't need the islands this tier. It's not something that's really important. So for anybody wondering about why people are doing islands, like the world first raiders are trying to push neck level 80 for a couple reasons. There's a 3% stamina node there, but it also lets them upgrade their Mythic Azerite by 5 eye levels, which is pretty relevant. But everybody who's not in like a world first situation, there's no big power spike after 75, except for upgrading those Azerite pieces as you get them. 75 is where you get that third trait, and no guild outside of like the world top 10 should be requiring anybody to go above that. So if your guild is trying to get you to do islands because they see all of method and limits people in islands, don't let them. They're being dumb. Okay.
On the same vein, though, like outside of doing your dailies, there's not like a ton you should be doing. So jumping into islands is not a bad option.
If you are wondering what the best place to spend 2 hours to upgrade your character's power level is, and you've taken care of the assaults and the daily vision and stuff, islands are the best answer, and world quest swoop for AP. But it's not like that's where you need to be. Like if you just don't do any of that, you'll be totally fine.
Yeah, I think it's you either spam alts or spam islands on your one character that you want to develop, or you just play all your alts through the intro and get everything up to speed. Like I chose the alts because I want to do 5 or 6 characters this tier for certain content.
Yeah, you're trying to do the push to 4K radar IO score on all of them or something?
Yeah, something like that.
Whatever the number ends up being, 3K, 3.5, something very cool.
6K or something.
6K.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I feel like the numbers are going to be high this season. I don't know about that. I feel like this season we'll see BFA's highest time keys.
I think it's possible, yeah.
Corrupted is nuts.
Sure, it's possible.
Yeah.
If they keep not nerfing these corruption traits, then yes.
Like Echoing Void and Twilight Devastation. I guess Twilight Devastation is the one that doesn't split in AoE now.
Mind Flay even does a lot of damage just for like a kind of balanced one.
The appendages? Dude, that thing sims so low. Are you sure it does damage?
It seems pretty high for a lot of specs. Yeah.
I mean, per corruption point, it's probably not great, but like as a first, it actually does quite a bit.
I think that we should always be thinking about things in terms of per corruption points.
Sure.
Yeah.
Per corruption points, it's very low for Moonkin. I don't know about other specs specifically, though.
Yeah, but for this first weird week, I think it's an okay equip because you're so limited.
Yeah, I mean, you're just putting on any item that's corrupted, right, this week?
Exactly.
I got the hot void ritual on my main, but then David QZ coming in fucking hot, tier 3 infinite stars. So he be hitting it diffy.
I don't know what that means.
I don't know what that means either. Am I a boomer?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
so probably learned that tropical vacation.
Yeah.
My brain is actually just fried. Too much sun.
This week is our Heroic Ny'alotha preview show. Next week, we will be doing a review of Heroic Ny'alotha, but mostly a preview of the Mythic raid. Then the weeks after that, we will definitely miss. We will definitely miss in 2 weeks. In 3 weeks, we may also miss. In 4 weeks, we should be back in town. And the reason why we will be missing in 2 and 3 weeks probably is that Tettles and I will be casting the Complexity Limit Race for World First event over at the GameStop Performance Center in Frisco, Texas. So that'll be what we're up to, yeah. We may end up casting together as well, so we might do some impromptu Titanforge podcast in the Race for World First stream. You know, no promises. I'm gonna spring some surprises on Tettles if we ever get to cast together, but we'll see what exactly they are.
Please do not get me fired. That is all I ask. I would prefer to have a long career in this, and I need to get paid. And getting fired because Dratnos is springing some weird shit on me is not what we're hoping for.
I will not get you fired, but I can't promise that I won't put you in a situation where you might get yourself fired. That's all. You know, if I bait you and that it causes you to go on some rant about Starfall or whatever, and get you banned forever, then that's your fault. Speaking of Starfall, do you love how Infinite Stars has the same icon as Starfall? So like,
shut up.
That beautiful image of you in front of the Starfall icon has really aged very well.
Honestly, I knew.
That was a great decision for me to make that. It's fantastic.
Incredible. All right, so we will be spending a couple minutes on each boss today, but first we have some 8.3 stuff to talk about as well. We've got just some general thoughts that we want to get through there. But even firster, we have our supporters on Patreon, patreon.com/Titanforge, to thank greatly. Those top supporters are Ahar of US Proudmore, Paul of US Proudmore, King of Skills, VTech XD, Rock, Zuko, Ja, Uncle Please Invite, Khalifa D Pog, Drunk Swede from Legion of Lemmings, Argent EU, Mrs. Settles, Actually Tootsie, Heltari, Ishio, Blue of Emerald Dream, Chromed, Seraphicus, Trekkie, The Marsh Hare, and Regulus. Thanks so much.
Oh, where's the Dino Pillow?
Yeah, where's
He's
Dino Pillow?
Tettles now.
Okay. Yeah, I've been ordering T-shirts for the Race to World First event, and I can confirm that dinosaurs are not absent from the lineup. By the way,
I thought, well, having known our dress code, Dratno.
What? It's casual.
I'm sorry. Okay, continuing on.
It said nerd shirts were okay. Dinosaurs are nerd shirts. What?
All right.
It's a cool shirt. Dinosaurs are cool, man. All right.
I'm sure it'll be fun.
let's move forward. So overall, how are you guys enjoying the patch? Squishei, how are you enjoying this patch so far?
It's pretty exciting. I think Heroic Visions are absolutely fantastic. The intro quest on all my alts kind of sucks, but we're getting through it.
Yeah, it's annoying this week, right? But it's one time. It's one time, and then it's done.
Exactly.
Yeah. Trell, how about you? You been feeling there's a good amount of content this patch, or not too much?
Yeah, well, I feel like I'm limited at a certain point in the day when I get home. Like, I'm done with my dailies, and I'm like, oh, okay, there's nothing else to do, so I'll just play an alt. But Visions are super fun, and I have a lot of fun planning them out with my group, seeing how many possible things we could do before we run out of sanity. Just like Mythic Plus, if it was spammable in some way where you didn't get the corrupted mementos or rewards outside of the first one you did for the day or something, I think that'd be a lot of fun. I think it's a missed opportunity for them.
Yeah, it bodes well for Torghast though, right? Next expansion, like if this is the same design philosophy they bring forward into Torghast, that's really hype, I think, because I think Heroic Visions are the best content they've come out with since the Mage Tower, which is the best thing they've come out with since Mythic Plus.
It is far better than Withered Training, I will admit.
Definitely.
Yeah, I was worried it was gonna be like Withered too much.
Withered Training sucked because that had no skill component to it. And to be fair, like a big part of the skill component is the resource and the time gating, like the time limit on you in this, which Torghast does not have, right? So that might be bad news for old Torghast. But I don't know. I will really be looking forward to like an infinitely something I can play 10 hours of that are like Heroic Visions rather than my court mandated 1 hour per day.
Well, do you guys worry that the horrific visions are only cool for us because we're so low item level currently, and that they're just going to be pretty, just like you're just going to face roll straight through them once you actually get more item level?
I think they scale with item level, so I disagree with that one.
I don't think they scale with eye level. I think, but they do scale with masks and stuff. So I think
They
there's
also scale
like
with spec, which
They
is
scale with something. It's like one character, the elites had 600k
okay.
health. The other character, they had like 800k health.
They do.
I don't know exactly.
Scale by spec. Tanks have 15% less health than DPS. I haven't tested a healer because I feel like bringing a healer to a horrific vision isn't the best. But tanks do have less health. It's still best to run a horrific visions as a DPS, I think, because 15% less health isn't enough to overcome DPS's essences. And
well, I have been playing a Brewmaster with a tier 3 Echoing Void roll, and it's been fairly good.
So you've been playing a DPS.
So you're playing
I've been
DPS,
playing a DPS that can also just chain get disoriented and not die, which is really nice. Like I just spent like 30 seconds in CC.
Is Brewmaster.
Yeah, the healer thing is interesting though. Like I think they designed this poorly for healers. I think if you bring a healer at all, it's kind of like just makes the vision harder because the health goes up on all the mobs, but your damage does not go up as much because of the healer. And people don't really need a healer if you dodge the mechanics. So it's like, what are they supposed to do? I think they need to scale it a little differently for certain specs like that. I think the best current comp is a tank plus 2 DPS, or maybe just pure DPS, and that's it.
Yeah, maybe like adding a healer to a group should not scale their health by much and should instead just scale all their damage upwards or something. That would be a cool thing for them to have done, but it doesn't look like it works that way.
Yeah, I think a big part is they just all the mobs just scale sanity. If you get hit by stuff, you take sanity damage, not real damage. So there's really nothing for the healer to even do because they can't heal sanity.
Right. They're just kind of sitting there being cheerleaders or just doing damage, but less than DPS. Although, again, all of this is only for like if you're trying to min-max, side areas. To get them, like to just get the cloak levels out of the content, you can do it as a solo healer, and it's totally fine. So, like you can go kill Thrall for your first 5 cape levels, and then you can definitely go do a corrupted area as long as you're playing a reasonable damage healer spec. You're playing as much of the damage that you can in your trinkets and your talent tree and everything. So like, I think it's good that all this min-maxing and like which spec is better and what group comp is better, all of it only really matters for these like little bonuses and getting to your socket slightly faster and getting that rank 4 essence, but not for the main cloak progression, which is really nice.
Yeah, it just sucks because like people don't want to be behind their friends in content. Like healers are just naturally disadvantaged at the moment, so I do feel bad.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like if you're at the level where that comes into play, you can probably just group with people anyways. And I think a 5-person group with a healer is not at that much disadvantage compared to a 5-person group without.
Yeah, and it's just fun with a group. Like you can coordinate a lot of stuff, have people go pull for you and click the objectives while you gather something, plan out like a really big pull that you wipe to. It's fun.
Yeah, I've definitely been there. Speaking of which, have you guys failed any heroic visions yet? Tettles, have you failed any? Maybe. Explain.
I definitely. Okay, so for a while I was just using my demon hunter to fucking troll on, and then yesterday I made a mistake and accidentally got perma in combat with this worm. And I didn't know where it was, and I was at 250 sanity trying to drop an orb, and I'm just like, I'm in combat. What am I in combat with? And so then I walk back into Garona's room, and there's this worm, and it's like forever away, and then I die, and I'm just like, this is so stupid.
I've died on a DH with just that worm being alive before as well.
It's just the worm, and I'm just like, this is so dumb.
Although mine was, I tried to do the lost area on my second run, and I nearly had it, but that stupid worm kept me in combat for a little long.
Squishy, I blame you for not letting me go Alliance. If I had Shadow Meld, this would have all been prevented.
Unironically true. Like, Shadow Meld is really nice for not letting that happen to you.
For sure.
Yeah, for anyone that hasn't done their visions yet, you want to be out of combat as soon as possible after you kill the main dude in the pack so that you can use a sanity orb to get back up to full sanity, because you have to be out of combat to do that. Otherwise, you're probably going to bleed out and die.
Yeah, knowing the like kill priority in each pack is really important. Trell, how have your visions was going? You scuffed any yet?
I did on purpose on my Demon Hunter. I was testing a hard area on like the first run. That was not a good choice. Don't do that.
Wow, I did that too. I also scuffed it on my. I was just like, man, Demon Hunter's got to be so OP for this. I'm gonna go big, and then I ended up not upgrading my stupid cloak to rank 2.
I did die
on purpose,
accident,
by the
though.
way.
I did. I was testing the limits on a big pull, but my warrior did fail on an accident in the Rexar area because I was fighting the guy that there's like the big elite in the middle of the Rexar area, and he knocks you back every now and then as the threat target, and it knocked me like through the split personality circle several times. So I lost sanity so fast.
Has two depleted because of that.
Split personality, not just the Rexar area, also in the Valley of Wisdom, one of the mini bosses throws you, and that can also be a rough combo with split personality. Luckily, draining living action potions break that, so keeping those for those zones, big play.
Sure.
All right, let's talk also a little bit about the assaults and the rep. Squishei,
Man, you're not gonna ask Squishei if he depleted any?
I assume he's been just running it right down the mid, like and doing the side areas, but not doing anything too stupid, and he's gotten them all.
No.
No, you depleted as well. All right,
No. I was on my rogue, went to a lost area, got to the boss perfectly fine. Split personality had the thing backwards, right when the boss cast his frontal cone or his frontal line. So I dodged backwards off the cliff. And you know what's off that cliff is the double dominator pack.
Right, that we always that pack we skip. Yeah.
So I got double stunned and just died. It was awful. But
it sucks.
Did you know that you can double jump fell rush over the split personality?
Yeah, you can just glide over it. I think.
You can wild charge over it too. You can stack form wild charge over it too.
Did not know that. Yeah, did not know that.
If you're a Havoc Demon Hunter, visions are free. Congratulations.
Yeah,
you picked the right class.
Havoc Demon Hunter is certainly nuts for soloing it. Although I believe that the best way to do it is in a group, because I think that the group side of the tree is more OP than the solo side of the tree. Like if you have 5 people in there who have the group side of the tree, you just have like 2,000 sanity across your group, and that's nuts compared to the increase of 15% damage on the solo side, right?
Yep. There's no reason not to group at this point. They fixed the trait bugs that only work solo. Like grouping until you do mask runs is the way to go for sure now.
Yeah, although you can't respec your talent tree, so if you pick the left side of the talent tree, you might have a hard time getting people to want to group with you, or you might still just want to play solo. So no shame in that. It definitely still works. Okay. How about the corruption affixes? Squishei, you broke the news of the Infinite Stars nerf. How do you feel about the 25% nerf to Infinite Stars damage?
Based on the sims on single target, I don't know if it's enough, but I do know that Infinite Stars with any other target on the fight at all, since you can't control where it goes, it will greatly reduce the effect. So it might be enough as long as it's not a pure single target encounter, which I think the only one is really Shadhar. So it might be okay if they're okay with it.
Yeah, so because most effects at least just do the same damage, but now split among 2 targets. Infinite Stars does even less than that on 2 targets, right? Because it stops applying the damage taken increase. That starts falling off, right?
Well, no. It doesn't fall off because it's a 15-minute debuff, but the ramp up time for you to get to that 10 stack is double as long. Super long.
Okay.
Yeah. For you to get to that ramp up time, and especially if it is a target that you're actually trying to kill, then like if you get any stacks on the target that's trying to die sooner, then you're going to just be like
right. Okay, so
you're not going to have good stacks.
If there's like a 20-second living ad and that takes an Infinite Star, that Infinite Star will do no damage and will also not contribute to ramping up on the main target.
Yeah, exactly. So it's 3 procs per minute and it's 15-minute duration. So realistically, it's not going to fall off your target while you're in combat with it. But the 3 procs per minute is fairly low for something like, especially if it goes on a target that is meaningless, like we were saying.
Yeah. All right. In other news this week, Heroic Mechagon is active, and it grants progress towards Vision of Perfection rank 3 randomly. So ranks 1 and 2 come from Heroic just by doing them. Rank 3 is just like a 20% drop from Heroic or something.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard stories of people doing it 26 times
to get their rank 3. Yeah.
I would have just waited, but that's a way to farm it if you want.
Yeah, you can get it from M+ guaranteed next week is the plan, right? So you shouldn't need to spam Heroic if you're planning to do M+ Mechagon.
I thought it was on a weekly lockout. Okay.
Heroic is not, right?
No, I thought the Mythic Plus one was, but now you have me questioning that.
The Mythic Plus one should be on a weekly lockout, because we did upper then lower, and then upper gave one but lower didn't, so it should be a weekly lockout, but we don't know for sure.
Ah, okay. Okay. We also have the interesting question of what level key to do this week to get a keystone next week. So Blizzard's been a little back and forth on this. They've had a couple of different stances. The current thinking, again, looks like you need to do a 19 this week to get a 15 in your box next week, which you want because next week you want to do 115 for the weekly box afterwards. Your weekly box next week will not contain good loot, but you want to do 115 for the weekly box after to contain good loot. If you can. So if you're capable of playing in the 19 or so range, go for it. If you're not, like if 19 sounds really high to you, there's not really a reason to do like a super high key of any kind for you then this week, because the gear, like even doing a 10 or whatever is not going to give you relevant gear next week. It's going to give you 440 gear again.
Dratnos, is it true that you bet all your gold away to Jason XC Raffle on this?
I bet 100,000 of my gold, which is not all of it, but is certainly some of it, yeah. That and again, I don't think it's 100% guaranteed that Blizzard hasn't like gone into their code or whatever and put a number 4 in somewhere, and that's going to come out affecting us by 5 levels, right? Like that's not impossible, given the inconsistency. But
it could be 6.
That's true.
Yeah, so the blue post set, like Blizzard's now saying that the plan is 19s give you 15. If you 100% trust blue posts, you are now no longer need to worry. But if you 100% trust blue posts, you would have been wrong about several things in the past. So, you know, it's still I would still say it's not quite 100%.
I have a question. Didn't 19s give you 15s last patch cycle too?
Yes, but last patch cycle they announced 3 levels extra, or 3. They just said the downgrade would be 3 levels.
Yeah, but now we're going from 35 or 30% increase on dungeon to 53, and we're getting the exact same downgrade, which is
the last season also had the scaling change.
Yeah, the exponential scaling in high keys. Yeah,
never mind. That is right. I totally forgot about that part because they scaled up the mythic zeros, right?
No, the exponential scaling increase came last dungeon.
Oh, yeah. Okay,
8%
no,
per level
I
to
do
10%.
know what you're talking about.
Like the gap between a 21 and 22 got higher.
Way higher.
Starting this season.
Yeah. But it didn't matter much in the 10 range. Like 10 to 11 was not very, because of the way that exponential scaling works. Yeah, that it's been interesting. The patch notes have definitely been all over the place. The patch notes for this patch initially announced that change again, even though it already happened. And they announced the Soulbinder world boss, which came in Nazjatar, would be a new world boss this patch. So it's been a roller coaster.
You know what? I'll commend them. I'm glad that they're communicating it all.
Yes, it was really nice that they put out that, like, what to expect in a few weeks ago. It just would have been unfortunate if it was wrong, but it looks like it will probably be more accurate than their actual content update notes.
They seem to be fixing it. And
yeah.
That's fine by me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that they're, like, being proactive about fixing it and instead of being like, oh, it's a feature like they normally do is, I'm more than okay with it. Yeah. Plus the fact that they are having some communication, some transparency. It's steps in the right direction. It's not perfect. It's not going to get perfect overnight, though.
Yeah, I agree. Good news overall. There have been some communication issues from Blizzard this week as well, with the whole daily quests abuse thing. Do you guys remember that? Where the daily quest like reset and somebody asked on the Blizzard CS if they could just keep farming it over and over again, and the Blizzard CS person was like, "Yeah, you can do that." Yeah. And the person was like, "Are you sure?" And the person was like, "Yes, friend, we're sure."
Do you want me to grab the tweet for you?
No, it's okay. Like, I don't want to play Blizzard on the show too much.
They've had so many bugs though. I mean, come on, like.
My favorite part.
Just had a hard time.
If you look through Blizzard CS's Twitter now somebody asked, "Hey, I've been able to repeat the cloak upgrade quest more than 2 times. Is that a bug or should I keep doing it?" And the CS person was like, "Oh yeah, hold off on doing that more than 3 times now." While we look into it, this is something we're investigating.
They are learning. I mean, like, whatever.
Hey, Tettles, can I do my daily quests twice per day?
I mean, at least once per week. That's intentional. Like at least once per week, that's supposed to happen.
Sure, friend.
I don't know what daily means.
Yeah.
I think that pawning it off on the CS people and like blaming them is probably not the best approach, especially for something that is not within their control. But that was not exactly as I would describe a great source of information. It's like to the point where whenever I saw that, I just like retweeted it, like quoted the tweet, and was like, "This is a bait."
Yeah, yeah. All things considered, though, you know, we're glad there's more communication rather than them just not saying anything. All right, let's move on to our tip of the week segment. My tip of the week is that there are totems in the horrific visions after you kill any side area. After you complete any side area, there will be a totem that shows up near the last boss, where the last boss spawned. In most zones. In the Valley of Wisdom, it's a little farther away. It's at the like crossroads area in the Valley of Wisdoms that you can right-click, and it'll yeet you through the air back to the starting area. And while you are airborne, you're not losing any sanity as well. So that's a big move to take in horrific visions that I recommend doing. Trell, what's your tip of the week?
My tip of the week is on the same line of thought there. There are buffs around each area in the horrific visions. They're randomized to an extent. So like when you enter a vision this week in Orgrimmar, there's a chance of a guy being in the blacksmith that you can kill for a 10% damage buff for an hour, which is pretty good. He's hard to kill though. There's also Gammon who can spawn on the right side, like second building, I think, where he is in normal Orgrimmar. He gives you a 10% health buff. There are vials all over the place. There's 5 different color vials, and they're like when you enter a vision, they get set on what they do. They can either give you a buff or they can make you drain sanity when you click on them. So you got to be careful. I think like maybe it's worth it to click each color vial once to see what they are, and then after that you can kind of seek out the others of that same color to get the same buff if they have the buff. But be careful. Yeah,
don't do it when you're low on sanity, because one of the effects of the vials is just like a instant sanity nuke on you. So be careful of that. Drop your orb first and then click on the vial if that's true.
Yeah, and the buffs stack too. So like if you get the fire buff correctly, it's like a 5-minute breath of fire thing that happens around you every now and then. It does a lot of damage, so it's good. But if you find another red vial and it has that buff, then you get like 20 minutes on the buff, and you don't ever get the negative effect from it falling off. So it's pretty...
Yeah.
If you find the negative sanity color, you can click on every other vial, since you just know that this is the only bad one. So if black is bad for your vision, just never click on black, and click on every other one.
Yeah, and again, the different colored vials change which effects they're associated with each time, so you can't just be like, oh, red is good. Red could be the bad one the next time you go. All right, Tettles. It's time for your clip of the week segment. This is from my Method video on the Method YouTube channel, ranking the tanks in Mythic Plus here. And I guess it's more of a screenshot of the week, but you can see here how I ranked tanks in Mythic Plus this time around, where I had Warrior at 20.5, DH and Paladin at 18, Monk at 17, DK at 16, and Druid at 15. What would you like to say about this ranking?
I just want you to explain to me Bear Druid being so low. I watched the video, but I don't understand why it was so low.
I'm a little higher on it. I think that the main reason might have been the runs that I did with you tanking on Bear Druid has, have affected my opinion of this spec.
I'm like an 11.
But
what is Guardian had 6 for survivability, so I'm a 9. Yeah. I have a 0 for survivability.
But since then I've certainly come up on Guardian. Like I would probably put Guardian at 17 if I was making this video today, and I made this one a couple of weeks ago now, so it's new information that I've picked up in the past 2 weeks has not yet been reflected in this ranking. But
I didn't realize you made it like 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, I would say Guardian at or above DK levels would definitely be fair, but I think that most times somebody comes up with a ranking of specs. There will be, specs where they're off by a point, 2 points, 3 points, a tier, maybe 2 tiers, those sorts of things. And I don't think those are major points of disagreement. Like, I think if you agree with, the general gist of this tier list, and you think that the, one spec should be moved up by 3 points, I think that's more agreement than disagreement, with the list overall.
I agree with the rest of the list. I would only move everything around by like 1 or 2 points for sure. I think everything's in the right order except Guardian Druid, like we said. I was just surprised to see it so low. I think it's a really good.
Yeah, I was scared off by the tankiness on pull being such a problem, especially if there are big pulls that everybody's trying to set up. But I suppose in those pulls, committing something early is reasonable.
I mean, it's the same as Prot Warrior on pull, like, honestly.
Well, Prot Warrior can run in there with Avatar, right? And be like the Avatar charge, clap, demo,
Warrior is
clap.
definitely a lot stronger than Bear on pull. That's true. But Bear, like, after 10 seconds is about the same tankiness as Prot Warrior. That's where it just comes in slightly below Prot Warrior in survivability.
Yeah,
But that being said, like, every pull is so wildly different. It's very hard to quantify tankiness at all in Mythic Plus, where there's not just like a consistent swinging mob. There's always a random number of mobs. There's always factors of like having to kite and what defenses you have, what healer you have, what DPS you have. Like assassination rogues using Iron Wire to reduce the damage of mobs on pull. There's always random things like that.
So you're trying to tell me that Warcraft logs is what was it? It was like K something.
EHRPS, effective healing required per second. Yeah.
No. They had their own ranking for tankiness on raid bosses like a few tiers ago.
Okay.
It was like K something, and it was like it effectively like calculated how much healing you required, how much damage you mitigated, and shit. It was like the most ridiculous metric of all time.
Insane. Yeah. Anyways, it's been a fun. We've all been kind of putting our dipping our toe in the tier list game, right? Charleston making them too. Yeah.
2020 is the year of the bear, though. You think it's the year of the rat? It's really the year of the bear.
With Tettles, it could certainly be both. Yeah.
Okay. Well, PvP maybe bear.
Yeah.
I think Bear also does really well versus is going to do really well at the start of the season with the whole armor nerfs and K value changes. Like,
yeah, I agree.
Bear with Blood Frenzy is just going to stack up Iron First to where they were previously armor cap is now just more like an actual reduction in armor. So I think they'll do very well there.
And also, they are notably one of the tanks that can active mitigation the Tank Buster Awakened mob. That's the strong thing about Bear, armor. Right? Like the Iron Fur works against that Awakened mob. And the many other tank specs do not, like, Shield Block does not do anything against it, so Prot Warrior has a harder time there than Druid. If anybody's interested in
Shield Righteous.
Shield Righteous is good too. But yeah, I would say Stagger is the top tier thing for it, and Iron Fur I think is the second best thing for it.
What does Blood DK have, Dratnos?
Blood Shield, and then your group's battle reses, or Ankh Totems, or trees, or whatever, yeah.
You can't battle res like that. You go into the other realm once you die.
Yeah, Ankh Totem might be your best bet, or just kiting, you know.
I don't think they'd have Blood Shield. I think they'd be at half health from taking the one melee right before.
That's true. Yeah, right. Sorry, bone shields or whatever. The plus 400 armor or whatever from having a bone shield up. You know.
Oh hell yeah!
Yeah,
Vamp Blood. But Vamp Blood, honestly, whenever it falls, it's like getting meleeed twice. So you probably shouldn't use Vamp Blood. It's not a very good defensive cooldown.
Oh man! All right, use Vamp Blood. That's a good cooldown.
Vamp Blood. I mean, okay, like if you're playing with a priest, they can life grip you away. You can wear tertiary. You can wear gear with speed on it, and that might allow you to run away fast enough as a Death Knight. But even then, it's still sketchy. You probably need like 20% speed on your gear. Yeah. Maybe you can find some weird way to just like if you can move to like that little ship on Freehold, you can keep the thing trying to chase you and not able to actually catch you by running around that little ship thing. That might be the play for DK or something. Yeah,
if you have like a pillar, you can like get it to stop and start casting, and then give you some time to get away. So stuff like that is helpful. But there's no option sometimes. Like in King's Rest, what are you gonna do to line? It's just a tube. You're dead.
Much like the rest of King's Rest, the answer is just you're gonna die. Like that's why we don't do that stupid keystone. Speaking of stupid keystones,
23 weekly no lever.
You guys looking forward to like having a Twilight Devastation beam proc in Toldagor? Just
you know, I actually tested that on Motherload last night on my DK. I was blood DKing a Motherload for the weekly. And I have Devastation on that tune, and I aimed it directly at packs out of combat, and it did not pull them.
Right.
So I'm not sure if it's
Toldagor, though, has verticality, and there are packs that are in combat with other enemies. So I worry about what will happen with those if you if you're just on the ground floor Toldagor, and your massive beam hits that pack two stories up that's fighting with itself. I'm not saying that it will definitely pull.
You're actually right.
I'm not saying it will definitely pull, but I think that it's a good chance. Yeah.
Does Infinite Stars do that too, or
no,
only stuff you're going with?
Infinite Star stopped doing that. Infinite Star stopped hitting mobs that you were not in combat with.
Okay,
I'm pretty sure
good.
anything that doesn't do purely single target can pull anything at Toldagor. I'm pretty sure it's just a broken deck.
Yeah, I think part of the problem with Toldagor is those mobs that are just in combat randomly.
I thought it was the fake walls and the fake floors.
That is also part of the problem. It's Toldagor cannot be just one mistake. There has to be more than one responsible for that abomination. All right, let's move on to our main topic.
Verticality is not the strong suit. Do you remember Upper Kara? Upper Kara was broken for so long.
Yeah. I remember DCing every time I walked over that stupid chessboard. Like the little corners of the chessboard that you could run into.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
I do remember that.
Yeah.
I was more referring to Lower Kara with like, you know, in like Moros's room where you had that ledge
the balcony,
that was over. Yeah, the balcony that was overhanging the thing, and anytime you dropped any ground effect ability, you just pull all the trash that was up above you on the balcony.
Yeah.
Game is sick, honestly.
I was just foreshadowing for Toldagor, and Toldagor is just foreshadowing for Torghast, the Shadowlands thing.
Torghast.
Yes, Torghast. Choose any amount of floors, and they will all pull on your first ability cast. All the ones above you.
The eternal Toldagor hell.
All right, let's move on to our main topic, which is Ny'alotha Heroic preview. We'll also, this will mostly cover normal as well, but we will not be covering Mythic this week. Next week we'll be doing some Mythic preview stuff. This is just to prepare you, though, for Heroic Ny'alotha, which is a very good use of your time next week. If you're able to do it, it's 460 gear. That is a nice way to get started this patch, and it can corrupt. There are also some unique corruptions as well available from these bosses, like on weapons, that you can't get anywhere else. So those don't look better to be better than, Infinite Stars, Echoing Void, those kinds of things right now, but some of them are pretty good. So let's take a look for now at the layout of the raid. So this is the order of the bosses in Ny'alotha. You start with Rathian, and then there's kind of a bunch of different branching paths. The big takeaways are that the wing end bosses are Vexiona, Ra-Den, and Il'gynoth. And then Carapace and N'Zoth is the kind of like second to last boss that looks like it'll be really, really hard. And then N'Zoth, of course, is the end boss that looks like it'll be really, really, really hard.
Squishy, you think Ra-Den is like the one that you do right before Carapace, right? It looks harder than Vexiona. And
it's all based on tuning. Ra-Den is very, very positioning based. And if they base Ra-Den on just get the positioning right, figure out a strategy, and then execute, then it might just flop. Whereas Vexiona or Il'gynoth might just be a hard DPS check.
That's fair.
Yeah, and that's kind of more Mythic as well, right? Like Heroic, there's kind of no way to know which of these bosses are going to be tuned hard on Heroic. Right? That Heroic, just sometimes you get bosses like Heroic Unot that are just trivial, despite the Mythic version being hard and the fight looking like it should be hard.
I mean, for people who clear Mythic, no Heroic bosses should really be like hard. Like they'll just take time. I remember when Queen Ashara was deemed hard, and we just like, what did we pull it like 20 times, and eventually we just killed it. It was like, all right, well, wow. The secret is make sure your whole entire guild soaks.
Yeah.
It's relative. It's always relative to like the tuning going into the week and the skill of the rager.
Sure.
You never know how it's going to.
Plus, you never have the loot that you're going to have later weeks.
Like Cahoon was a hard Heroic boss, right? But Unot was a very easy one, and there's kind of not a. There's no way to know which kind it's going to be based on how hard it looks like it'll be on Mythic. Anyways, let's get started going through these boss by boss. So, of course, the first boss that everybody will have to fight is Rathian. Rathian is a interesting little intro boss. So, what's kind of the top level overview of Rathian, Squishy?
Well, it is a two-phase encounter. In the first phase, you're basically DPSing Rathian. In the second phase, you kind of just you have to kill these pillars. But there are like these intermission breaks in the first phase that you have to basically run away from the boss, and nobody can really hit him during the time. But for an intro boss, I think it's relatively good. He is a dragon, of course, so he's a frontal breath and a tail swipe. And this tail swipe hits really hard for some reason. And if your tank happens to turn it into an unexpected boomkin, for example, they'll probably die.
A boomkin, you say?
I'm at ranged, and it's probably physical, so checkmate.
Okay. So yeah, we have the intermission where, as a whole group, you need to move to one safe spot on the ground, and we have some footage of that here. So this is from Kalamazi's YouTube channel of Rathian, and you can see here the intermission starting where the boss kind of lifts off, does damage beneath it, and now you all need to move around to the one safe space.
I actually like the whole. We actually should make the intro boss to the raid interesting as opposed to some just like random patchwork DPS check. So in previous expansions, not necessarily this expansion, but in previous expansions, they had like the most boring ass intro bosses. But for some reason, this expansion they've had like super interesting ones. Like Savara is cool, Talok is cool, Rathian now also fairly interesting as an intro fight. I doubt he's going to be hard, but at least he has some interesting mechanics.
Yeah. I think this, champs aside, it's been a great expansion for intro bosses. Especially if you count Restless Cabal, which I don't think you should. That doesn't really count. But Talok and, Savara, I think, was great.
Champion of the Light.
Yeah.
Oh, Champion of the Light. Champion of the Light was Hellfire Assault levels of terrible, but
it was less bad than, like, Hellfire Assault was actively painful to do, right? Champs of the Light, at least you just rolled through.
Well, Hellfire Assault was only bad because you were time gated, not necessarily because of anything else.
Well, Sting was only bad for that reason. Like, that was awful. This is a horrific part for an intro boss fight.
Yeah.
At least champs you could just nuke through, and so it was never anything actively bad.
I for one feel very immersed, having spent about 8 to 10 hours on my 6 alts with Rathian during the questline. Now I get to battle him. I get to see what his dragon form looks like and where his weaknesses are. So like try to hit him underneath his wings, when you're fighting him, stuff like that.
So why are we fighting him?
Look, there's not Mythic Plus this week. I've been really immersed.
Do you guys want to be spoiled? Do you guys want to be spoiled on the lore? Yeah. All right, everybody in chat.
Tettles all about the lore, so
cover your ears. Cover your ears in chat if you don't want to know why we're fighting Rathian. But it is because. All right, no. All right, we won't do it. We won't. I won't spoil it then. But I know why we're fighting Rathian. We're back. I won't say.
Oh, are we done?
Yeah.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Okay.
I missed it.
It'll be, you'll find out then. Just kill Rathian and you'll find out. Okay, one other thing about the Rathian fight that you should be aware of is that spikes are going to come out of the ground, as you can see here, and they will require you to DPS them, so do DPS them. Okay, next, yes, here's what those Crackling Shards look like there from the Breath ability.
Oh, dude, those Crackling Shards are actually terrible for pretty much every DPS to be able to DPS, by the way.
Why is that?
That is a good point.
Because they're spread.
Well, not just that. On PTR testing, their hitbox was basically a point under them. So, like 2 shards close together that are easily within cleave range for any melee DPS could not be cleaved. Sunfire will not cleave. Like, they were awful.
No, really?
You should be able to hit
That's
you
lame.
should probably be able to hit a good clump of 3 or 4 with every Sunfire. You could hit 1, maybe 2, but hopefully they fix that because that was awful.
Yo, they just heard me pleading to buff Starfall on their Twitter, and they were just like, honestly, let's throw him a bone. Let's make one encounter that he can actually DPS with Starfall.
True, yeah, or all those big AoE abilities like the Hunter one, the big barrage.
Barrage? Oh, yeah, barrage. Oh, do they still have Sidewinders? Is that even a button still?
No, I think that was removed after it stopped all the Hunters from ever getting invited to groups.
No, that was definitely a thing at the very end of Legion. I don't know if it got removed coming in. I don't know why it would even still be an ability. It probably got.
I feel like it got removed coming into BFA. I don't think I've seen it. All right, next is Prophet Skitra, one of the second 2 bosses in here. It's another single target-y boss fight for the most part. And there's a debuff effect that explodes to spawn some ads that need to be killed instantly. We'll watch some footage of that now. Anything, Squishy, that you'd like to say about this particular fight?
Yeah, so unfortunately for the majority of the WoW population, this fight is going to require communication.
Yes.
Just like Becatork, you have information that somebody else probably can't see, but whether or not a weak aura actually trivializes it will be determined. But basically, the raid is split into 2 on an intermission. Every 20%, the boss phases away, and the raid is split into 2 groups, basically a purple debuff and a red debuff. And you'll see 5 clones in each of those in each of those zones, and one of those clones is shared between both the red debuffs and the purple debuffs. And you have to communicate between the two debuffs which one is the same and in the same position and kill that one. So you're gonna have to talk.
I think both tanks always have the opposite debuffs. So like one tank can mark all 4 things or all 5 things that they see, and then the other tank can just tell them which one is the one that's also on their same mark. I think that's the play without a weak aura.
Yeah, definitely,
absolutely. Yeah. I would assume that there probably will be a weak aura that trivializes it because you can target all of the ads individually. I would assume that there will be some elaborate ass weak aura that will be able to tell you which is which.
I've definitely heard of them. There have been some in testing, based on some crazy stuff, similar to the way Neltharian's Lair automarker worked. But there's all other things like
the total.
Yes.
Oh, the second boss of Nelth's Lair.
Yes,
yeah,
if you know how that works, you know how the one I've heard about is working. But there's some other stuff like the debuffs on the real target is shared. So you can have like your Boomkin in one realm, like Moonfire, all of them in his realm, and whichever one actually has the Moonfire in the other realm, that's the real one.
Yeah, that was what I was thinking.
So it's by mob ID. Like the mobs will all have unique ID codes, and that's basically what it is then, right?
Yeah, I assume they're gonna fix that, but they've changed stuff recently. Like you used to be able to put a skull, I think, on one of them, and the skull would appear on the other zone, but that no longer works. You can't mark them anymore. Only debuffs appear to share.
I think the way that I would start with this is have like assign one of the 2 debuffs to cast dots, and the other debuff does not cast dots and just looks for one of their targets to have dots on it, and then you just start hitting that one. You just call that out and kill that. I think that might be the fastest way to identify which one is which.
Probably. I still think the easiest way
or tanks
is probably just have your tank.
Yeah.
Yeah, tank just marks all 5, and then you just call the other marker. Like
yeah, if you can mark them, that's a good strategy. But you were saying that you couldn't skull mark and see it on both sides anymore, right? So,
oh no, you just put the raid mark on the ground.
Oh, like, raid marking the ground where they are? Yeah, okay.
Right.
Yeah. You raid mark the ground on all of them because raid markers are like the world markers are shared between all of them. I don't think the debuff thing will work because it's not going to be consistent amongst like the DPS and the healers who's going down with what tank. So you won't be able to communicate effectively.
You just say like, okay, red
should be applying debuff.
You just say red group always applies all their debuffs, and the other group never casts any spells, and then they just look for one of them to have debuffs on it, right? And one of them will get debuffs.
Maybe I'm mega stupid, but I feel like you're overcomplicating it.
Maybe it's just a question of what gets it solved fastest, right?
Sure. I think the world marker thing is by far the easiest, though. It's the least complicated.
Yeah. At the end of the day, on heroic, there's no way you need this to be like 4 seconds instead of 5 or whatever to solve. Very cool mechanic, though. Very cool mechanic here. Hopefully, it does not get trivialized by a weak aura, but if it does, then okay. Mott is our next boss that we would like to quickly cover, and we'll spend 3 to 5 minutes on most of these bosses, and a little bit more on the more interesting ones. Mott, the big thing about this is just an ad, right, Squishei?
Mott is difficult. There's been many strategies. There's an ad, and this ad has to be tanked away from the boss. And if the ad gets too close to the boss, it'll give it mana. And when the boss reaches 100% mana, he phases and puts up a giant shield. And basically, if you want to prolong the phase, you want to keep the ad away from the boss. But on testing, you could just let it didn't really matter. So whether or not you actually have to deal with this ad in the actual phase and on live servers when tuning is done is to be determined. But I think the intent is that you're supposed to tank the ad away from the boss, and you can basically kill it out there.
Okay. So, and yeah, basically whenever the boss hits 100 mana, then he gets like a huge shield that you have to burn through, similar to like a Lady Ashvane style shield, is basically like the core of how the fight works. But what you're saying is that they just tank the ad on the boss and they just don't give a shit?
Yeah, so...
It splits the difference in the mana between the boss and the ad, right? I think that's how that works. And like the mana on the ad is correlated to like his shield, like is basically his health, right?
Yeah. So if the ad has a mana bar as well, Mott has a mana bar. When the ad gets too close to Mott, it gives only a portion of the mana bar. But while the ad is alive, it gives full mana and casts that. But you can prevent it by like using this other mechanic that we haven't really mentioned. But people found that it just didn't matter. You could just yeet the ad and the boss and let him take 20% mana. And just say, okay,
you just blast the boss because
on heroic
splitting
least,
the damage
right?
on the ad is just not worth. Well, it's the issue that splitting the damage on the ad versus just like full pounding the boss is not worth relative to like the health pool versus the mana gain, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
which classes do you think are gonna kill themselves on the reflect damage burn phase?
Yeah, so what Chola's mentioning is that when he's full mana, he puts up this giant shield, and every point of damage that you deal to Mott to try to break the shield will be reflected back at you 100%. So, Fire Mage?
Anybody interested in critting a diver's folly at that thing?
Yo, did somebody say
funny.
Moonkin slow and steady wins the race, dude?
Dude, yeah, Moonkin just fires a crit Star Surge and a crit Infinite Stars hit, and it's gone. It's over.
Oh no, then I would die. Yes, that would be the end
Infinite
of me.
stars. That'll be
Yeah.
Take off your corruptions.
So is it
No
is it
infinite
like
stars.
the Cenarius Reflect? I don't even remember that from testing. Is it similar to Cenarius Reflect?
No, it's just whatever you deal to it is the damage that is dealt right back at you.
1-to-1.
It should, as far as I know, it's 1-to-1. They might have changed it, or
Yeah, that's
So
like what,
trash.
250k infinite stars possibly every hit.
I believe it just says. But I haven't actually looked, to be honest. But I assume it's 1-to-1.
We'll see. Yeah, that might be something that changes in various difficulties as well. All right. Once Mott goes down, you are now faced with the choice of which branch to go down. In Heroic, not probably super important decision. In Mythic, I think it will be really interesting to see which path the different guilds take at this juncture, because it could definitely matter. But the boss we're going to talk about next is Hive Mind. We'll talk about all these kind of earlier bosses before we get to the wing tier bosses or wing end bosses. But Hive Mind is the boss that you kill if you're on the way to Raw Den. And this boss has some fun potential issues with it, right? Some things that we're not sure we like about this one.
Which one? Hive Mind? Is that?
Yeah.
So basically, the issue with Hive Mind is like the same issue. Like, is all ad fights is that they're just boring as shit. Like, so either the ads are overtuned to the point where you only bring like insane AoE classes, or you're like only bringing demon hunters and outlaw rogues, and you're actually just trying to Mythic plus parse the whole entire dungeon, or the dungeon, the boss.
That's for Mythic, right? Yeah. For Heroic, it should just go down, right? Like.
Well, I mean, that's the issue of the fight. The fight cannot be fun by design,
right? Yeah, because an ad fight in a raid encounter just can't.
Well, it doesn't bring anything else except for lots of ads.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess this is why the fight's not fun. Like, Herefus and Azoth has a bunch of ads that you have to kill, but it's like fun in a completely different way because you're actually doing stuff. Hive Minds is actually you're just burning AoE, and then there's like two main bosses.
Do you like this more or less than the Gauntlet boss from Antorus?
Oh, Imanor?
Imanor? Oh,
no. The
Eonar, right?
Aeonar.
Yeah.
On the platforms.
I like this more than Eonar. Eonar was really bad, though.
I liked Eonar as a progression fight. Once like figuring out the rotation, like coordinating two groups to like defend this thing from different like lanes and stuff. I thought that was cool. But once you got to Prague and you're sitting there like, well, in 20 seconds there's gonna be an ad, coming out with all set timer bosses. It just kind of sucks. But
yeah, they nerfed the shit out of this boss on the PTR, right?
They did, yeah.
Yeah.
Which
on Mythic,
credit where it's due, Blizzard has been nerfing the unfun bosses, right? Like Blackwater Behemoth and this one. Like if they just take the most hated boss each tier and make it not something that you have to spend much time on, fine by me.
Shout out Blackwater Behemoth.
Yeah.
You remember whenever they did the first round of testing and the fight was hard, and then people were like, "This is the absolute worst fight in the history of man," and then they just nerfed it to be like a 3-pull boss, and everybody's like, "All right, well, never mind, this is okay."
Yeah.
As bad as this fight kind of is, it's not like usual to have a fight where you kind of need burst AoE. There's a phase where all these little like scarabs, like when they're below 20% health, they'll regenerate like 5% health per second, so you need to like burst them down super quickly. But there's also like single target in these large darters that kind of fly around that need to be single targeted down because they have more health. So it kind of has both ad and single target damage in some sort of balance. And
those
I guess
little
that's
scarabs, they're the ones that fixate on players, right?
Yeah.
So that's where like the Mass Grip Vortex utility is going to come in handy, I think, is when all the scarabs come out.
Certainly might be the Blood Death Knight fight for Mythic, yeah.
Hold on, you just stand inside the Ring of Peace.
Yeah, or that.
Yeah. Any like grouping utility like that.
All right, next boss up is Xanash, the soccer boss. This one is soccer boss. So EU advantage for the world first race.
I'm sorry, football boss.
Yeah, football boss, I guess. And we have a little clip here from Automatic Jack's stream of how the soccer phase works here, where you just kind of move the ball to the goal.
This boss is actually sick, but this is like the only real mechanic on the fight for heroic and normal is just kicking the ball into the goal. Beyond that, I think you just like dodge in like the upstairs realm, and you don't really do anything else. Because like in Mythic, there's like an ad that'll spawn, and it's a little bit more complicated. But in heroic, you actually just do nothing, and then you're like, all right, healer 1 and healer 2, go downstairs and kick the ball because we want all the DPS upstairs.
Yeah.
This is the tutorial for the Mythic version, I think. Get used to kicking the ball, rotate people through so they're used to it. You get one mistake on heroic difficulty. Like if the ball hits a pillar or the wall or a Shara, you get one mistake. Otherwise, the second mistake will kill you. On Mythic, you don't get that mistake.
So we call those, in soccer, we call those the posts. If you hit the post, then it's a corner kick.
Yeah, we call it an own goal if you hit if you hit a Jara. That's a bad thing to have happen in soccer.
I'm kind of scared of this boss as a tank because I saw that the tank hit mechanic knocks you back pretty good ways. And there's lots of things you're going to have to be aware of that's behind you. Like you can't get hit into the ball. You can't get hit off the platform. You can't get hit into a Shara, I assume, and the obelisks or whatever. I don't know the penalties for the other objects there, but you have to be really self-aware as a tank, I think.
The other objects don't do much. They're damage. So you can get knocked in them. Just don't get knocked off the edge. You'll get laughed at probably.
Yep.
All right, up next we have Shadhar. So this is one of 2 bosses on the way to our old friend Il'gynoth. Shadhar is described here as Gwarm meets Varimathras. So, Tettles, can you explain what Gwarm meets Varimathras is?
Do you think that's an appropriate assessment? I feel like that's really appropriate. So, Shadhar is a dog, and basically how Gwarm worked is he had 3 different colors, and you would have to like go and soak those specific colors, and it would just be like different phases. And then Varimathras had boss like percentage health phases, or actually no, I guess Varimathras is global timer, not even like percentage health. So Varimathras actually, but Shadhar has percentage health phases, where the first one is like the fire phase for Shadhar, and whenever you're in the fire phase, there's like these fire plumes that explode from the ground. It's like not that big of a deal. And then the void phase, there's this blob that'll be summoned, and you want to take like the blob will fixate on. I think there's only 1 blob that spawns at a time, but you want to take it out towards the edge of the room because it'll explode doing raid-wide damage. And then the toxic one is Shadhar, and the whole entire time, the boss is doing frontals, but the frontals aren't really doing anything. You just kind of dodge them. And then the toxic one, the boss's frontal is empowered and it is leaving green shit on the ground. So you just like move around the boss in like a clockwise rotation.
Yeah, so I guess Fire, Void, and Toxic is very Gwarm for a boss. Yeah, I like it.
Gwarm meets Varimathras.
I was thinking Cormrock, if you remember who that is, but
from Hellfire Citadel, yeah. Also, they do kind of keep going back to these. I guess it's because these are 3 very differently colored types of damage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Shadhar, I mean, Infinite Stars boss, no ads.
I actually kind of like this boss. It's a better take on the Fed Devourer Gwarm fights. Why the fuck did they always make patchwork fights these dogs?
Yeah, maybe
doggos.
Yeah. I don't know. All right, up next we have... Good?
Which boss do you think Il'gynoth reminds you of?
Il'gynoth. Old Il'gynoth.
All right, up next we have Drestagath, though, the last boss that you'll need to complete before getting to one of these last wing end bosses. So once you have done these, then you'll be 7 out of 12, right? And the last 5 out of 12 are the hard ones. So Drestagath is Squishei, what's important about Drestagath?
This is the fight that your Shadow Priest will love. It's the first kind of big multi-dot fight of the tier. Basically, he summons a bunch of different tentacles, and each of the tentacles have their own abilities. But all the tentacles basically need to die at some point because they spawn in waves, and you need to clear the wave before the next wave spawns so you don't fall behind. But the major mechanic is the boss itself is basically will heal any damage that you deal unless you kill a tentacle and pick up a debuff that you leave behind. So every time you kill a tentacle, you want to hop, especially your Melted Daughters, hop in and DPS the boss. Generally, you want to wait to pick up a debuff until you have cooldowns. Then you just kind of own the boss, do big chunks of damage. But that's kind of just the Drestagath fight. Just wave after wave of tentacles, picking up debuffs, rotating damage to the boss over and over again.
Yeah, ideally you just bring only multi-daughters to this fight, but this is the only melee unfriendly fight of the tier, I would say. I think Il'gynoth is a little bit like but in general, Drestagath is by far the worst and probably the only one that I would say is bad for melee, which is weird because we've had a bunch of tiers of having very poor melee fights.
There's some debuff. I don't remember if it's heroic or mythic, but if the melee remain in range of a tentacle for 4 stacks, they instantly might get mind control or something like that. So they have to swap targets or something. I don't remember if that's heroic or mythic.
Apparently, it's been changed to be melee friendly. Our testers in the chat are letting us know. So
I don't know what got changed to make this melee friendly. Are they changing how the fight works? Are the tentacles stacked up? Like
you're definitely going to want some melee. One of the tentacles has a smoke bomb around it, so your daughters aren't going to want to head in there. And I'm pretty sure that's the thing where you can only be inside it for so long. But don't expect to remember.
Okay, so I want how many? 4 demon hunters and the rest range.
All right.
Yeah, I think warriors are good, right?
Yeah, warriors.
Maybe not that. For that
I don't know. I think warriors are just going to be good this tier. Yeah. Up next, we have our first of the end boss or the wing end bosses, Vexiona the dragon. So our second dragon of the tier. We got a nice 2 dragon tier to make up for not having very many dragons so far this X pack. This one has an intermission phase as well, which Rathian did too. So dragons with intermissions. What else is kind of big to be aware of on this fight, Squishei?
Well, just you talked about the intermission. The intermission is basically an air phase. You can still hit her, so Rage can still hit her while she flies over, but she has 3 lanes, and she'll fly down one of them at a time. Very similar to Halls of Valor. So you kind of want to watch out for those 3 lanes. Make sure that you're not in the way. She just deep breaths across the arena, and you just have to dodge out of the way. But her main phase, phase 1, starting at 100% to about 30%, she'll summon a bunch of adds. And that means you get to do a lot of cleave damage, and that's pretty awesome unless you're a boomkin.
This is definitely a melee fight. Actually, this is definitely one of the better melee fights of the tier, just because of how easy it is for you to cleave. This is the rogue, the warrior, the demon hunter, the retribution paladin. If you're bringing any of those kind of style fight,
the death knight, perhaps, yeah.
The fire mage fight, definitely the fire mage fight. Hit them with the fat ignite, and then they just kind of die.
Yeah,
this is a cool tank looking fight too. I think not only the debuff that goes on the tank is like a dispel constantly type thing while you're getting breathed on. You get a bunch of debuffs every second, and then also you get to use a meme beam on the ads afterwards and blow them up as a tank, which could be exciting.
Yep. This is definitely one of the more interesting tank fights. What Charles was saying is one of the big void ads. It'll cast a huge laser beam at you, and it does a crap ton of damage, but it also friendly fires the mobs. So you want to tank the mobs in this beam that you're also getting hit by, so they take damage. And then once the big void elemental dies, you can pick up its orb and also fire the meme beam back at them as well, doing massive damage. So it's kind of actually a really fun fight for tanks.
Does that beam hit the boss too?
I don't know if it hits the boss, but I was told it friendly fires the ads for sure.
Okay.
That is definitely one of the most interesting tank mechanics they've had on a boss in a really long time, I'll be honest with you. Tank mechanics are so bad.
It's just so hard to come up with an interesting tank mechanic.
Yeah, but swap at 2 stacks. All right, that was creative. Next,
it's so
3 stacks.
So hard to come up
4
with
stacks.
It's so hard to come up with a boss where the strategy of just taunting when your debuff falls off does not work, right?
Like, what about 5 stack? Hear me out. 5 stacks.
Yeah, you don't even have to
Queen
know
of
how
went up to 30 stacks. Shit.
Yeah,
let's multiply them by 10.
Queen of Shard was different at different parts in the fight too. It was Queen of Shard had some interesting tank mechanics, I guess. I don't know.
Did you really like lining for 15 seconds?
I didn't like lining.
Especially my tank saying, yo, can I get one heal?
Yeah. I didn't like having a 90% healing reduction on me either in the last phase. Although that happened on farm, not progression.
Look, I'll have fun pointing that beam at Tettles on farm.
Oh, yeah.
Go straight at him, and I can follow it.
I'm AFK.
Tettles is dead.
Those
Tettles wiped.
Yeah.
Tettles wiped my heroic clear last night on Orgazoa as a demon hunter. He flew down and kicked the boss as fast as he possibly could to wipe the group. So do it, Squishy.
That's really funny, actually. All right.
All I'm gonna say is Nerf said, "Kick the boss. You won't do it," and then I did it, and it insta killed everybody.
Up next we have Rathian. So Rathian, a returning boss from Throne of Thunder back in Mists of Pandaria. How much similarities can we expect to the original Rathian encounter, Squishy?
He has 2 phases.
Okay.
Not one. He has 2 phases. But you're going to have to do a blue phase and the red phase. The blue phase is very similar to the original Rathian, where you have to bring people out, and the debuff jumps from the farthest target to the farthest target. And you're going to want to have to set up positioning and making sure that while that debuff travels, it doesn't go through any member of your raid because it deals damage along the way. And you can't use the same people over and over again because every time the beam travels, it gives them a debuff that they can't take it again. So it's going to be really important that you have a set order of maybe, I think it's 5 to 6 people that are alternating going back and forth so that, you know, they're rotating through the debuff so that it arcs not across the raid. Then there's the red phase, which is the new phase. But in this one, you have to bounce and kind of like volley an orb similar to Zekvos, all the way back in Uldir. Yeah. And once again, every time you catch the orb, you get the debuff that prevents you from catching it again or dying. So you also need to have an order for this, and you want to bounce the orb around 5 to 6 times in some kind of order, and basically just rotating through these 2 phases. So a lot of positioning stuff on this fight.
Yeah.
When is it phase into phase 2? It's like 45. It's like 45%, 40%. Right?
Something like that. It's going to be very, very. I think this might be a very difficult fight for her heroic, especially Pugs.
And then we have Vita and Void ads. What's the deal with these, Tettles?
Oh, those are in phase 1. So basically, there will be these 2 balls that spawn, and they're like tethered to Rathian, and you have to kill one of the balls to make sure that both of them don't hit the boss. And then basically, once you kill one, then like say you kill the Void ball, then the Vita ball hits the boss, then it spawns a Vita ad, and that will do a chain lightning effect, which is what Squishy was talking about. That's basically how it works out. So you're going to want Destro locks and shit like that, Shadow Priests, to be instantly targeting the orbs and nuking them down. I feel like you're going to want like a calculated amount of damage to them because you don't want to really overkill them. So you don't want any inefficient cleave, but melee can't really de-target the boss in the first phase. Like melee are super, I wouldn't say super good, but melee are relatively good in the second phase, especially on Mythic, I think. But in the first phase, they're not super hot.
You think it's going to be a strat where you like pull the boss over to the orb that you want to kill and then like kite the boss with the orb to like have super efficient cleave while you do?
The orb moves really quick, but
the orb does move really quick.
I think the orb moves like really fast, but maybe I'm just out of it.
Well, I know you can move the boss like while that's happening, so maybe just as an emergency use.
You can definitely emergency, yeah, for sure.
And you need to kill the orbs and like you need to alternate between the 2, or else they get more powerful, right? The one that last time.
So it empowers if you don't alternate, but
that might still be
what is like the meta
right?
strategy? I think the meta strategy is like you kill. Is it 2 void and then you kill one?
I don't think he can do that anymore. I'm pretty sure he gets a massive damage buff or massive haste buff or something crazy that you just want to alternate the entire time.
Many moons ago, there was some strategy where you were killing like 2 voids and then one Vita.
Okay.
Yeah, but
I do want to point out that and again, kind of a unique tank debuff in the second phase. When the thing applies to you, it's a cast time. When it applies to the tank, it snapshots the tank's health and deals half of that amount of damage every second for like 10 seconds or something. So if you're full health when that debuff is cast, you're taking 50% of your health every second for a couple seconds, and that's really, really bad. So what you're going to want to do is coordinate with your healers so that your health drops really low right as the debuff goes off, and then top yourself right as the debuff hits. And that's going to be really, really tough to do in practice, I think.
Is that the Blood Death Knight special right there?
Yeah, Blood Death Knight, just do this by accident.
Get clapped for all of your health and then heal it back up.
True.
I think it might be pretty easy as a brewmaster. I don't know. It's hard to tell. Like, how much passive healing are you going to absorb at the time, and what's going to be going on? We'll see.
Yeah, that debuff is really, really interesting, though, and I think it's going to be very difficult on Mythic, especially with, you know, tons of damage going out and all this other stuff.
How are you feeling about the tank mechanics in this instance so far, Squishy?
These two are okay. Everything else isn't great, but
okay. Well, everything else is BFA.
Pretty much, yeah. But I think it's really hard to do good tank mechanics. But this is definitely one that's a little better. There's at least some thought that goes into it.
Yeah, that's good.
All right, up next we have Il'gynoth, who is somewhat similar to Emerald Nightmare Il'gynoth, another returning boss fight here, which makes sense because when you killed Il'gynoth in Emerald Nightmare, he said, "N'Zoth, I journey to Ny'alotha." So here we are in Ny'alotha, and there's Il'gynoth. It would be weird for him to not be here, but
he like grew arms and got armor and stuff.
Yeah.
Do you think he like underwent training and worked out in Ny'alotha?
In Emerald Nightmare, it was a tree, and now it's this demon winged thing, void thing. So I don't know what's going on with Il'gynoth. Yeah.
Tettles, can you please explain the lore of what happened to Il'gynoth, please?
Hold on, you need to give me more seconds.
He's been up for so long.
My hamster wheel is turning. Give me a second.
Yeah.
Okay, so Il'gynoth, whenever you went inside and you were killing his heart, that wasn't actually his heart. It was a fake heart. It was a silent H. Okay.
It was an art?
It was his art. It was his art.
All right.
And so then once you killed his art, he was like, "I will journey to Ny'alotha because I've bamboozled the shit out of them." And so then he left. And that was fake Il'gynoth, all right? This is Il'gynoth's brother, Mil'gynoth.
My goodness. Okay,
so,
I'm with you. Yeah, keep going.
Yeah. So now we're here in Ny'alotha and we're fighting the real Il'gynoth, not his brother, Mil'gynoth. And his art.
That makes sense.
All right, so what is somebody other than Tettles? Please tell me what is the actual boss mechanics for Il'gynoth?
Bro, I know the actual boss mechanics. What the hell?
I don't think you have any credibility right now. I think if you were like, "Oh yeah, this is an AoE fight," everybody would just bring single target now after they heard
this
that.
Is not an AoE fight. Please do not AoE on this fight.
Yeah, it's just like the original Il'gynoth, right? Where you just do control damage for a while, and then the organ opens up, and everyone bursts the specific organ.
Yeah,
like the heart.
It's a very unique fight because you're killing Il'gynoth, then you're killing one of his hearts, then you're killing Il'gynoth again, then you're killing another one of his hearts, then you're killing Il'gynoth again, then you're killing his third heart. Sorry, art. I'm very sorry. Then you're killing Il'gynoth for the fourth time, and he finally dies because he's no more arts.
No, he doesn't have any arts. We already killed his art. We're killing different art. We're killing his hearts now.
I'm just confused now.
It just says organ of corruption. Yeah, I think that it's entirely open to interpretation.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we killed his art. So now we're killing his kidneys. His liver. Yeah, his liver.
His spleen.
And his lungs.
Yeah,
his lungs.
Yes.
Yeah. In Emerald Nightmare, we just killed his appendix, and it turns out you don't even need that, so that was why he was fine.
That's good.
We removed his appendix. It was gone.
Yeah.
We're making progress on our lore here.
Okay, hold on. So I've progressed on my lore. So it wasn't really his heart. It was his appendix. He was suffering from really, really bad appendicitis, and we did him a solid. And then once we removed his appendix, he was like, "Later, guys, I got to get out of here. They required me back at Ny'alotha." So once we removed his appendix, we were like, holy shit, he needs a full surgery. So we chased him down to Ny'alotha, and now we have to remove his liver, his kidneys, and his lungs. And then once we remove all of them, then he will die.
From chat, we have "just kill his brain" as a comment. It sounds like Tettles is certainly attempting to do that, yes. To all of us. Okay, yeah, so control damage to adds, high burst damage on the organs, and that's all there's to this one, similar to Il'gynoth in terms of what's required.
So, high burst single target, super, super valuable here. This is like your Fire Mage dream fight. Don't bring your I can't stop DPSing, I'm in void form, Shadow Priests, and shit like that, because they're going to pat on the ads and wipe you.
All right, this brings us now.
I just want to mention one more thing about this fight. The heroic mechanic is a mind control, and the way this works is instead of them, doing the normal cast, they have to interrupt or else, a change or something like that. This time they just try to lob themselves at you. They run directly at you, and if they happen to hit your character, you then become mind controlled as well, and then you'll run at somebody else, and it's going to keep going until you either DPS every single person at a 30%, or everybody's mind controlled because they just yeeted themselves at the entire raid.
Can you use abilities? Mass rooted perma still, or is that not a thing anymore?
I have no idea. Wait, the ads or the mind control?
And mind control people.
The blobs.
Oh, blobs.
No,
Okay.
the blobs, not the mind control.
I think you can still master it though.
Interesting.
I see.
But I think they broke it on Mythic with a new ad that they've added.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
What about the mind control players? Can you crowd control them?
I saw them get stunned. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm thinking for sure get stunned. Do you know if they use abilities like the?
No, they just walk at you, right?
As far as I know, they just try to run into you like zombies.
Okay.
I must say, letting your group mates get mind control just so you can see them does not seem like a strategy, Dratnos.
Well, I didn't prefer that strategy. I'm just wondering if one's running at you, can I bring a piece of it away or whatever, or do I need to run myself?
Yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen with melee on that. Like it might be risky depending on the hitbox to even hit like another person, or else you risk getting mind controlled as well. But we'll have to see because that ability is going to be probably the cause of some wipes.
Well, you're gonna want a good balance of like DPSing down the main boss versus actually like slowly killing the ads. Yep. So it's like,
I wonder if you could engineering a belt knock them like through the raid and take out like four or five people.
Dude, yeah, could you imagine just shining forcing them right through the entire raid? Like you just line them up like bowling and get a strike.
Okay. So I've been practicing my trash mechanics, and I've been calling out all the mechanics on trash, all of Ashara's Eternal Palace. I think our guild is prepared for this, Squishei. We're going to chain Ursul's Vortex into Thunderstorm, into Double Typhoon, into Ring of Peace, and we're just going to launch the mob across the map. Okay.
Okay. I think our guild's good.
Yeah. I'll drop something on the forums for us. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. But I think that mechanic is going to cause a lot of yelling. A lot of yelling. Especially when it changes to the raid.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, that'll be good.
The penultimate boss of the raid tier is Carapace of N'alotha, and this one looks like it will be challenging on Mythic. Looks like it might be a serious wall on that difficulty. On Heroic, of course, tuning remains to be seen, but it seems like that is also a possibility there. What is the importance of Carapace? What's important on Carapace of N'alotha, Squishei?
Sanity.
Well, yeah. So just like for Revisions, Sanity is back.
And does your cloak affect your Sanity loss on this fight too?
It didn't on PTR. The wording has been removed, so I don't think so.
Okay.
But who knows? They could add it back, but I'm pretty sure it's just a normal Sanity bar, and the level of your cloak doesn't matter, so that everything's fair and balanced.
That would be odd, like scaling up on a boss not only by gear but by your sanity resistance each week.
I always like the soft nerfs by stuff like that. It always makes the nerfs to the content feel a little bit better. You remember like the Archive of the Titans, like how you were like every single week you were getting that new buff.
Oh yeah,
from Archive from
That's
back
true.
in old year. I always preferred like the soft nerfs as opposed to just like ramming straight through like a super hard nerf because it makes farm easier too.
The cloak does that kind of with corruption resistance, especially just like getting loot. We're gonna get more sources of corruption gear. That's gonna kind of do it itself too.
Yeah.
How far it goes, that's a different question. But
and in 4 months when we get our rank 3 Breath of the Dying, that's gonna be a nice nerf to the raid as well.
2 months.
I'm sorry. That's a very different number. That's a very different length of a grind.
Yeah, just 8 lockouts, not 12.
it might be before the Alliance Hall of Fame closes.
Shadowlands might be before that as well. We also have an extra action button going on in this fight. You need to hit. What's the deal with this extra action button?
So we were talking about Sanity. Phase 1, Rathian is in the back. Ooh, that's a spoiler, isn't it? Well,
is it? He stands in the back of the room. I don't know. I don't understand how it's a spoiler. Oh, because he doesn't die.
It's a spoiler that he's alive. And bosses don't die all the time.
What?
By the way, did you guys know that there's a world quest in King's Rest that is apparently bugged because it says to kill King Dazar, and King Dazar doesn't actually die at the end of that fight?
That's some QA right there.
Yeah, apparently.
But now that that's out of the way,
kill him or slay him?
It's slain, whatever.
Well, slaying and killing are two different things, Dratnos.
Okay. Anyways, so Rathian is here helping us out. Somehow has survived the first boss in a way that we will not spoil. And that's phase 1. What changes then into phases 2 and beyond?
Yeah, so I mean, just to give a little bit more, you can use your extra action button, which is your cape, and somehow your cape will make you fly to Rathian in the back. Really cool, like, I'm sure, with sunglasses and everything, but you'll fly to the back, and while you stand next to Rathian, that's how you get your sanity back in this ring, or in this encounter.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of really cool...
I was about to ask a question. So basically in the phase 2, you have to like... do you remember like Gahoon phase 2? You have to like split between the two sides and like run up like the pylon.
Yeah.
Do you think that groups are going to split, or do you think they're going to move as one?
I think you move as one, but I think you move as one, but just to kind of give a little bit more about the Carapace phase 1, I think it's really cool. There's this giant tentacle. You'll see its shadow like appear on the ground, and after a couple seconds, it'll literally just slam into the ground, like instantly crushing anybody under it. But then you can hop on top of the tentacle, and you have to kill these little ads that are on top of the tentacle. So you hop on, and you can cleave everything down. I think that's a really cool mechanic. Like, it adds, dare I say it,
cool.
Verticality to an encounter.
Oh, no, never mind.
Oh, yes. Give us some beautiful
things.
verticality.
You know what's hilarious about the verticality? So there are a lot of like AoE abilities that won't hit like the whole entire length of the blobs, but for some reason, Purification Protocol, you just slap it on top of the tentacle and it hits like every fucking one, and it just like blasts them all too. And you're just like, okay, this is so stupid.
I can't wait for path not found, path not available, path not available.
And wait, you play with text on, or you play with the voice on too?
No, I just see the red error text. Or why am I not leaping right now? Oh God, why?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's just I who play with their voices on.
Yes, you do. But you kill these ads, it depletes the boss's health, then you go into phase 2, where it's kind of a moving boss fight. Once you take him out of this phase, he moves forwards, and you kind of go to this next little arena, which kind of splits into 2 sides. And the goal of this phase is to kill these little like cysts on the walls. There's, I think, like 7 or 8 on each side. There's quite a lot. And the Gahoon cysts are back too, so if you miss those, you can AC them. And
beautiful.
The Warlocks will be very happy. But I think the strategy will kind of just be to have your entire raid walk down one side, kill everything on that one side, and then once everything's dead, you use your extra action button, cloak back to Rathian, fly back to him, get your sanity back up, and then head down the other side. Whether or not you can do that on Mythic is a different question, but on Heroic, I think you'll just go left or right, and then you'll go to the other side. Okay,
so also important to note, Cloak CD is 2 minutes, right?
Okay, there is a cooldown on it.
I believe the Cloak CD is 2 minutes. So if you actually do that strategy where you go up the left side and then you cloak to come back and then you go up the right side, then you have to fight Carapace and you have to fight whatever the fucking guy is. The Embrace of Ny'alotha, I think is the character name or whatever it is. Some random fucking
without cloaking beforehand.
Mob man. Anyways, but like and then whenever you push the boss in the 3rd phase, which we're going to talk about in a second, you actually can't use the extra action button again. So you're going to want to wait out like the 2 minutes before you push the boss into the 3rd phase, so you can actually get that extra use, so you can get your sanity back to 100% right before the phase, because you cannot reset your sanity again once you end up in phase 3. And I think phase 3 is just like a damage burn, right?
Yeah. There's a really interesting mechanic on this fight. I don't remember what it's like, adaptive membrane or something like that. It puts a shield on very specific mobs, some of the cysts or whatever. If you break the shield, it deals the amount of shield damage back to the ad. But if you don't break the shield, all that damage is wasted. So I think it's to prevent like Shadow Priests and Warlocks from just going dot crazy, dotting everything up, and then just letting it all rot simultaneously. And
you need to actually push the shield.
Yeah, you need to focus the shield so that the damage is dealt, and the ones that you don't focus, the damage is completely wasted.
But Squishei, I've seen this before. I saw it on Mechatork, and they dotted up the robots anyways.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason not to dot the others still, right? Like, your multi-dotters are still going to dot everything, like, who are we kidding? But you don't have everybody just evenly damage everything, right? You have to actually target some.
But it is to rein it in a bit, just so that, your Shadow Priests and your Warlocks aren't going crazy.
It's a very long fight, by the way, right? This will go on for
Yes.
Oh yeah.
2 lusts or something.
I would assume this is like a 12-minute encounter on Mythic. This is like looking like a 2 lust encounter on Mythic, just because like how long the run up the sides actually take and shit, just so long.
All right, once that does finally go down, then in I think a pattern we haven't seen since Dragon Soul, you will then fight Ny'alotha again. So after Spine of Deathwing, we got Madness Deathwing, and after Carapace and Ny'alotha, we get Ny'alotha the Corruptor. So hopefully this does acquit itself a little bit better than those 2 fights did. Ny'alotha is another 3-phase encounter. We don't know what the Mythic last phase is going to look like yet. There's no information in the Dungeon Journal about that yet. But in Heroic, we do know the Dungeon Journal for all 3 of these phases. Phase 1 is called the Psychus phase, and it's a 2-target cleave phase. Squishei, is there anything big to be aware of in Phase 1?
Yeah, so like other end bosses in BFA, the Phase 1 is a tutorial phase.
Yeah, I don't get it. Like, why is there always a 2-target cleave phase?
My favorite part is just after 400 pulls, pulling the boss again and doing a trivially easy fight for 3 minutes.
Hold on, they're removing that Phase 1 in Mythic. Don't get ahead of yourself.
That's true.
That Phase 1 is gone in Mythic, so...
Okay,
actually, this is great, yeah. It's just like Gul'dan then, which had an annoying Phase 1 in Heroic, and it was fun in Mythic, so... Yeah,
yeah, this is the tutorial phase for Heroic to introduce the mechanic later on, which you have to do with less people. But basically, there's just a bunch of tentacles all over the place, and a big ad called Psychus. Every time you kill a tentacle near Psychus, Psychus takes 50% more damage, and it stacks. So you kind of want to kite Psychus around the room through all these tentacles, and then once he stacks up to like 300 or 400% extra damage, you burst him down before he reaches 100 energy, at which point he'll wipe you. So you just need to... You're on a clock, basically.
Okay. And then once you finish with that, it just moves into the real boss fight begins with Phase 2. Phase 2 is not pure single target, right? Multi-dotting is allowed.
It is definitely allowed, yes.
Yeah, but it's not required either, right? They're just tentacles. You can multi-dot, but you don't need to.
We'll see. We'll see if you need to or not. But there are quite a lot of tentacles. There's 3 different types of tentacles. One that needs to be tanked, one that does a debuff that needs to be dispelled, and a third one that just kind of lobs raid damage around. Didn't really mention earlier, but Sanity's back again. And if you run out of Sanity, you get a big damage buff for like 30 seconds, then you get mind controlled and you have to get killed by your raid.
Okay.
So,
nice.
So like the Shade of Xavius Sanity.
Yeah. Very cool.
I hope it's as easy as that fight. Actually, no, I hope it's not, because I'm trying to be there as long as possible. Hold on. Redacted statement. I actually want to be in Dallas for forever. Hold on.
Yeah, Tettles wants this Race for World First to go on for 7 years and keep casting forever.
Yeah.
Paycheck.
Oh, yeah.
There's some interesting stuff, though, in this fight, like unique spell effects. There's an ability which will either pull you towards Ny'alotha. It's a circular arena. Will either pull you towards the middle, and if you reach the middle, you'll take a bunch of sanity damage, or it'll pull you away from the middle towards the other edge of the room. And if you hit either of those, you lose a crap ton of sanity, and it's not good. It's not good. But stuff like that. But the major mechanic of Phase 2 is you're gonna have to split the raid. I guess not expectingly, but you have to do the Psychus phase with half your raid. He has the exact same amount of health, and that means you're gonna have to be really optimal about who you're sending and when to make sure that you send both, 2-target cleave classes and burst classes in order to burst down Psychus in time. Because if he reaches 100 energy, you wipe.
That's why people are. That's why warriors are seen as like super good this tier, is because they have arms specifically has some of the best 2-target cleave, and you like arms, fire mage, demon hunter, they all look super valuable. Frost Death Knight, freakishly good for this fight. So.
Right, two target cleave and 2-target execute are both massive arm strengths and tested on this fight. And it's not like they're close enough together that you can actually arms execute them. You don't need your havoc or your havoc cast from your destruction warlocks to be able to do it, right?
Yep.
All right.
On heroic, just last thing about that phase on heroic, you can't send the same people twice. So there's 2 phases. You need to split into 2. Both groups need to do those phases. So you need to make sure to plan accordingly. So one group isn't, killing Psychus with 20 seconds left, and the other group is failing their run.
And then what is next on the N'alotha fight?
A bit of a question mark.
Yeah.
There are no publicly available videos for Phase 3 of N'alotha testing. But from the Dungeon Journal, it looks to be just a burn. There's an ad that you need to do that has a split damage mechanic that you just need to stack in some kind of circle, and it splits sanity damage and damage. But other than that, you're basically just burning the boss from what we can tell.
Are you trying to say that there's some non-publicly available information about the last phase? Is that what you're implying?
Well, like
Probably.
we think that the testing from like Method and Limit, they probably were able to get to test this, but it's not publicly logged or recorded.
Yeah, no reason for them to share that. So.
Oh fuck, dude! Like, why would they share that? It's not in their best interest.
Yeah, so it looks like this is going to be a fight that incentivizes that efficient 2-target cleave, and that's why DPS warriors and Havoc Demon Hunters and stuff are things that look like might be good this tier. So let's.
Melee just also don't look like they get punished. Oh, I guess we're about to talk about this.
Yeah, so let's make some predictions about what we think the raid is going to look like. You have listed here that I think it looks mega range friendly. I think this is an interesting question because I think the question of how many melee will be on the world first kill is pretty interesting. All of BFA, every end boss has had a 2-to-1 ratio of range to melee or higher. Do you think that will not be true this time, Tettles? That
will not be true for N'alotha specifically. Like if you average it out over the course of the whole entire raid, it may be accurate, but for N'alotha specifically, okay. I expect it to be like even split or more favorable to melee, just because your Frost Death Knights, your Havoc Demon Hunters, your Warriors, and your Ret Pallies are actually just kind of wild on this last fight.
I will still wager on more range than melee.
Well, okay, so if it's more range than melee, it would probably be because like your better players have just not better, but like a lot of your players or a larger portion of your roster are re-rolling or already are on a ranged class, not necessarily because it would be the optimal comp.
Maybe. I think that it's never that punishing to have like a Destra Warlock instead of a melee character for this fight. And it might be punishing. We have no idea what the last phase is like in Mythic. So it might be punishing to have melee for that.
So hear me out. 4 Havoc Demon Hunters, 3 Warriors, a Frost Death Knight, and a Ret Pally.
Okay. That's
it.
That's
how many Warlocks?
What's the Ret Pally for?
Wog. It's because Narcoles and Lip both play Ret Pally, so I'm expecting to have one of them in on the world first kill.
Okay.
And then 1 Death Knight. Or maybe I guess 1 Death Knight, maybe 2 Death Knights.
Yeah, it could be 2 if it's like Mini and Nagi, right?
Well, it's Mini and Nagi, and then you have so maybe it'd probably be 2 Death Knights because I think Twisted maybe playing Death Knight, and then Atlas plays DK.
Okay,
and now it's playing Death Knight. They have 3 Death Knights.
Okay.
I think both Limit and Method say quite a bit how just having 1 Ret Paladin's good in general anyway, because on progression, stuff benefits Paladin quite a bit. Like, 1 person dies, their damage goes up for quite a while. They can save lives with Lay on Hands and Word of Glory. It's just nice to have 1.
It's a lot of utility from a melee. Okay, so basically, even if their DPS isn't like super spectacular, they're in a weird spot. Whereas, like, if they're close to competitive, then they can be brought because, like Trell was saying, Wisdom and Word of Glory are actually just wild. Bop is also kind of insane occasionally as well. Just a bunch of like random stuff. Obviously, Bubble also super good.
I will say that the damage profile of N'alotha is kind of low. I think you're going to drop healers in this fight. Like,
really?
Oh, okay, yeah, the old 1 healer. No, if we one heal, healer. It completes the trend, right? 5 healers for Cahoon, 4 healers for Jaina, right? 3 for Unat, 2 for Ajara, 1 for Unat or for N'alotha.
You're not, dude. There's no fucking chance. Okay,
if they allowed that, that'd be pretty.
I don't see you one healing it because there's 2 split phases, and unless you send a healer into 1 and have like
Ret Pally. Yeah, Ret Pally in the other. You know, we were just talking about this.
Okay. I mean, but we'll see. But in terms of like raid damage, it's kind of low. And whether or not they change that in the last phase, I mean, you're going to bring the amount of healers probably required for the last phase if the phase 1 and 2 are, really low damage output.
Yeah.
I mean, if BFA has proven anything, it's always better to chop healers and commit to the burn than it is to commit to the more healer, very safe strategy.
And with that, that will conclude our preview of Heroic Ny'alotha. Next week, we'll be back for some more world first predictions and stuff for Mythic and everything. So if you're interested in more Ny'alotha content, and then again, the 2 weeks after that are probably not going to see our show. We do, however, have a brief question and answer segment that we will get to now. So we're going to answer some questions that we've been getting, not just about Ny'alotha, mostly just about the patch. Some frequently asked questions even. So if you're interested in hearing some of these, stick around. We've got, how many horrific visions can I do each week? Is a question I get asked all the time. Tettles, what do you think a reasonable number of horrific vision entries to obtain per week is?
Well, until you hit the cap, right?
Yeah, but okay. But the question is, how many coalescing visions do you get to let you run horrific visions each week? Right?
Enough to get was it 4 runs, 4 or 5 runs?
Yeah. So okay. So the greater assault is 1 entry. The 2 lesser assaults is another entry and a little bit over. If you do your 7 daily lesser visions, that's also a little bit less than 1 entry. And then on top of that,
make up the rest of the boxes.
Yeah, so that's 3 entries per week from just those sources. If you if you add dailies and opening boxes and killing rares, that's probably another entry per week if you do that for 7 days. But even if you don't do that, 3 or 3.5 entries per week, I think is a reasonable amount without too much grinding, and that will absolutely.
Yeah, I was also factoring in the initial 3 that you get from the questing.
First week, there's also 3 bonus ones from the quest line, basically, and after that, I think it'll start to be about 3 per week is a number to expect.
Yeah, I'm doing 3 per week on my mains and maybe 2 on alts. We'll see. Yeah,
2 is just if you just do greater assault and lesser assaults, then you're more than 2 per week already. You're getting 2.1 per week.
And that'll take an hour over the entire week. Assaults don't take that long. You just go to the event to event to event, and you're done.
Mm-hmm. All right, Tettles, would you like to read this next question on the list here?
Yes. Fuck, marry, or kill. Island Expeditions, 30k honor for Blood of the Enemy, or Toldagor. Trell, can you start us off with this one?
Man, I don't want to marry any of those. I would kill Toldagor though, 100%. Yeah,
kill Toldagor is the easiest thing ever, and then you're just deciding between the other 2.
I think I'd marry the Island Expeditions because the 30k honor for Blood of the Enemy can be the hit it and quit it kind of deal, right? You get the one-time lay, and then you're like, I'm out of there. I don't want to be eternally damned to farming Blood of the Enemy. But I'm definitely down to be slaved away at Island Expeditions.
Yeah, Tettles has spent long nights with the Island Expeditions. For instance, last night he and Island Expeditions have
My brain is absolutely fried, dude. I literally had an 80 fucking Island Expedition session that went all through the night before showing up here.
Mm. It's like you've had a kid with Island Expeditions and it's just ruining your sleep schedule and.
No, I married it. I didn't fuck.
All right. Next up,
I'm still a bit like that.
Next question comes from Dippin' Dots in chat. How is Might preparing mentally for when they lose to a guild named Pop-Tart Corn Dog at Squishei?
We have a scapegoat prepared, and it's Tettles being an officer for this tier.
Tettles is an officer?
Yeah, I can't believe you allowed Tettles to be an officer. Question marks.
So the thing that's changed from last year is obviously that Tettles has become an officer. So we have a scapegoat prepared in case things go wrong, and we'll blame everything on him.
Okay, and if things do go wrong, I have prepared not only a very good speech, but we're actually going to formally rename the guild to Might, but instead the M is lowercase and the G will be uppercase.
Yes, please do that. Oh my god, that is incredible.
What's Parse Culture? Poetry Club. Pop-Tart Corn Dog gonna rename after this tier.
We have some ideas. We have some ideas. Yeah, we'll rename probably first tier Shadowlands. Some ideas are Pickle Cupcake. That one's on the list.
I've heard Dratnos' guild. It's just simple as that.
I hear that you get a lot of applicants on for Pop-Tart Corn Dog that imply that they enjoy Dratnos' content, and then they get the the insta slap down because they don't want no Dratnos fans in their guild.
1 out of 4 officers, that's me, likes that, and 3 out of 4 officers immediately reject that app before I can see it. Yeah.
Good.
All right. And on that note, I think that is going to be where we end this week's show. Next week, of course, we will be back, and then the weeks after that, we'll be away. But for now, that's all for us on Titanforge Podcast. Thanks again to Squishei for joining us this week, and check out all of his content on wowhead.com, where he maintains all the stuff there. And yeah.
Oh shit! Hold on. Before we go, Squishei is also uploading horrific vision guides.
Cool. Very cool.
On his YouTube channel, so you should check those out as well.
Squishei is?
Yes.
I am.
Awesome.
I decided to try video editing again. Haven't edited a video since my guide to a Mercius, which was a long time ago, eons.
What's your YouTube channel, Squishei? Just like search Squishei on YouTube and it's there? Like same name?
I'm pretty sure you can search Squishei on YouTube, exactly the same. But I think my plan is to take some of my PTR footage from Stormwind and prep that for this week because Stormwind will be coming up. So
that'll be very good. Yeah, I'm. I will probably have the same guys, but 3 days later on mine. So definitely yours is the place to go.
On the PTR, Dratnos.
Oh yeah,
Squishei has come prepared.
Oh, I have. My YouTube channel has always just been waiting for somebody who actually knows how to edit a video to put me out of business. So.
I enjoy Dratnos' content. Okay, it's fantastic.
All right.
Yeah.
So yeah, do check out Squishei there and on all the Wowhead content, and we'll be back next week for more Titanforge. Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.